Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, man. It's your boy. And for today, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the most impactful characters in the history of Marvel Future Fight. Characters that's had a hand in molding the future of this game. And when it comes to like impact, lasting impact, I don't think any other character has had the level of impact on Marvel Future Fight that Doctor Strange has had. There's a couple other characters that I want to talk about, but I do think Steven, the goddamn demon, has had the biggest impact out of any character in the game. Now, you might be new to the game and you're thinking, yo, this guy is reaching. What the hell is he talking about? My Doctor Strange is still at 1 star. If he was so impactful, why do I not need him for anything? Why is he not top meta for World Boss Legend? Why is he not top meta for ABX or PvP? This guy is reaching. Get him out of here, coach. You don't know what he's talking. Well, sit down and let's talk, because you might be new. So let's talk, man. Doctor Strange, my boy Steven. Can't wait for Multiverse of Madness to see how you basically help this game evolve even more. So let's talk about it. Yes, Doctor Strange is not meta for ABX. Yes, Doctor Strange is not meta for World Boss Legend. Yes, Doctor Strange is no longer meta for PvP, but that doesn't change his impact. This guy basically created the debuff meta that you see in PvP right now. You go in PvP on any given week and you'll see that on every single team, there is a leadership or a passive of some sort that removes debuff. Before Doctor Strange got added to the game, this was not a thing. Doctor Strange made it so that leaderships and passives like these were necessary, otherwise you would insta lose. And that impact, years into the lifespan of the game, is still felt. So new players come into the game, they don't even know why they're building debuff leaderships, but they just see the impact that the debuff leaderships have, and then they just build it. But Doctor Strange created that need. Doctor Strange created the necessity that is debuff leaderships, debuff passives that still to this day are being created. Anytime there's a tier 2 or tier 3 natives being like implemented to the game, somewhere in their kit, somewhere in their leadership or a passive or some type of ability, right, there's debuff removal. Pretty much all the awakened skills in the game give you debuff removal, right? So just keep in mind that all started with Doctor Strange being able to time freeze people, okay? Because before him, time freeze didn't exist. He came in with time freeze, and in PvP, if you got time frozen with Doctor Strange, like you're pretty much dead. You were pretty much dead. There was nothing you could do, because before Doctor Strange, there was only, I believe, 3 characters in the game that could remove debuffs. Supergiant has it on her leadership. I believe Malekith has it on his leadership as well, and someone else, right? But she was never meta for anything. She was not meta for PvP, so nobody was using her, but leadership existed, right? But because Doctor Strange was so powerful, right, and the impact of time freeze was just so prominent in PvP, everybody had to build a Doctor Strange, because there were only a few characters that had debuff removals and they were not good, right? Doctor Strange, his impact on this game is so long lasting that even to this point, so many years into the future of this game, you are still seeing in PvP on any given week debuff removal leaderships or passives like the Wasp, right, that was created after the fact to counter Doctor Strange's impact. They even went as far as to create a whole character and design him around one thing: countering Doctor Strange. He basically flopped. Where is he? He's the only character in the game that has this time freeze immunity. They literally gave him this thing to counter Doctor Strange. It kind of worked at the time, but it still didn't last long enough to make him like super meta. But like, yes, Doctor Strange has been one of the most impactful characters in the history of Marvel Future Fight. They literally just made Cersei, and then in Cersei's tier 2 passive, right, they gave her the ability to remove debuffs. Why? Because they're prepping the game for when the Eternals all come and they all get their uniforms, that they try to take over PvP and they're gonna need debuff removal. That's why Cersei got this passive. And I wouldn't be surprised if more of the Eternals have this. Doctor Strange's impact has actually been felt for years after this guy has been removed from the equation in PvP. Nobody uses, well, let's not say nobody, somewhere down in like the wood leagues or what have you, you will see somebody still using Doctor Strange, right, trying to catch people slipping, because Doctor Strange, if he time freezes you, you're dead, right, and he can reflect damage back in your face and he can heal and all that stuff, right? Doctor Strange's impact on PvP has been felt for years. I don't think very many characters, no matter how strong they are, has had that big of an impact on the structure of an entire game mode. And then on top of that, you go into World Boss Ultimate, right? They created a whole modifier just to try and counter Doctor Strange, right? Where do you think this thing came from? Cut time, immunity to time freeze, Doctor Strange, right? Doctor freaking Strange. His impact is not just felt in PvP, but in PvE. All of these, cut time, this was created because of Doctor Strange. So that's why I'm saying, like, Doctor Strange, honestly, his impact has been like immense on the game. It's truly fantastic that long after him being a dominant force in PvP, the meta hasn't changed. It's still just debuff that you need. Like, sure, there's other debuffs that's come out after Doctor Strange's time freeze, like Charm, after Doctor Strange's run in timeline, but it hasn't changed anything. Like, Doctor Strange basically like revolutionized PvP, and then he basically had an impact in PvE as well, because lots of the bosses like Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw have that cut time thing on them. So because of that, Doctor Strange's time freeze doesn't work. And then after Doctor Strange got time freeze, other characters starting to get time freeze, like Jean Grey, etc. Right? So his impact has been felt, and I think, in my opinion, Doctor Strange is the most impactful character in Marvel Future Fight. Like, there's no other character that's had his level of impact to like game content. Right? They literally created characters to counter him, or at least one character that I can directly say that was made just to counter him. That's Adam Warlock. They literally added modifiers to World Boss Ultimate to try and counter him, and then the whole PvP meta and all the leaderships that were created after him, like, are literally just being created because of what he started, the debuff meta. Like, his debuff was just so powerful that they had to create leaderships to counter it. So yeah, Doctor Strange, number one. Number two, I definitely want to say, like, in terms of impact and longevity, I'm gonna say Jean Grey. Jean Grey has had a very long-lasting impact on PvP because of a couple different things, right? For one, she has the debuff thing, right? But because of the fact that she can revive, it's like it had like such a big impact for like 2 years straight. Every team had Jean Grey on it, right? And then as soon as she dropped out of the meta, they gave her this X-Men red uniform to make her like literally the most powerful level 60 character in PvP, because she could just guard break people. And then, like, even if you had immunity to guard break on your obelisk, this thing will still guard break you, right? And because of that, they've now created skills and put it on people like Sentry, that even if you have immunity to guard break on your obelisk or like your CTP or whatever, you can still be guard broken. So Jean Grey's impact in PvP is very, very real. So I have to put her on this list because of the fact that she basically showed us the power of being able to revive. And then again, she showed us the power of just basically being able to stun lock and lock down your enemy and basically frustrate them until they die, right? Her longevity and the impact that she had on PvP is still felt to this day. So I gotta say, yes, Jean Grey, a monster in every sense of the word, and truly an impactful character that has shaped PvP in Marvel Future Fight. She is cancer. If there's any like physical representation of the word, she is that, and I absolutely love her. Oh man, another character that I want to talk about is kind of Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is his potential is still a real thing. I think he could still go even further, so I'm looking forward to like what else they could do for Surfer in the future. But he showed us the power of the counter, right? He showed us the power of the full counter and the reflect. Like, before Silver Surfer, sure, we had Dormammu and he had to stay in PvP, right? Back in the old days, like, he showed us, he brought in like the whole reflect thing with his forward skill, right, on the base kit. But Surfer showed us the power of just being able to reflect damage in your face until you die, and then just like hit you with the counter and then send you to the Shadow Realm. Like, Surfer, his staying pack and his staying power and his impact on the current meta, I definitely have to say he's had a big impact in this game, but nothing to the level of Doctor Strange or Jean Grey, in my opinion. Jean Grey basically just showed us that if you can revive, you are definitely going to be a headache in PvP, right? Next character I want to talk about is kind of like 3-in-1, but I'll start off with Deadpool. Deadpool, with the X-Force uniform, he really showed us something spectacular. Before him, there were characters in the game that could lower the boss's defenses, right? However, never to the level of like Deadpool. It's absolutely insane what Deadpool did to this game, for better or worse, right? Deadpool brought in, well, I wouldn't say he brought in, he popularized, right, defense down, and made it so that it was something that the Future Fight team could cash in on, right? Because before Deadpool, we weren't really using defense down all that much in War Boss Ultimate. But then Deadpool came in and just hitting his skills in a particular order and just being able to line everything up with a damage proc showed you just you could get like 20 bars of damage in like one rotation. And he could go from doing like no damage 1 minute to being able to kill the boss the next second. So Deadpool basically popularized defense down in the X-Force uniform. And then we have Weapon X, who really took what Deadpool popularized and put it to the next level. Whereas Deadpool could go from doing no damage one moment to doing like a godly amount of damage for himself the next moment. This girl came in, and when she came in, she didn't really like have that big of an impact because we didn't really know where her value was truly going to lie. However, over the many months that she was in the game, well, she's still in the game now, right? So I shouldn't say was, like she's been in the game, people really started using her as a striker, and that's when you saw the value of defense down skyrocket. I think she's definitely up there in terms of impact she's had on the game. Like, she basically trivialized War Boss Ultimate, which was at the time the hardest piece of content we had in the game. They have to, like, with the addition of Weapon X and people figuring out how to abuse defense down after Deadpool popularized it, one-shotting bosses where you could beat a War Boss Ultimate stage in like 5-10 seconds if you set everything up correctly became a very real thing, and something that the Future Fight team spent years developing, right, and implementing in the game, which was World Boss Ultimate, the hardest piece of content available, was then trivialized because of this character, because she created the whole one-shot meta. It's absolutely insane, right? And because of that, they started creating new bosses that had cutscenes, like Null and now Mephisto, so you cannot one-shot them. So her impact on the game partially led to the creation of World Boss Legend, right? Where now you cannot debuff bosses, right? You cannot debuff the legends, and you cannot lower their defenses. You cannot one-shot them, because if you do too much damage, they immediately trigger a cutscene and stop you from dealing damage. She's part of that reason, right? She's part of the reason why that is the way it is. Because if they spend like, I don't know, 6 months, a year developing up English, anyways, I'm so excited, man. Like, developing a piece of content just for a character like this to come along and then basically just trivialize it so you can one-shot it in 10 seconds. There's no challenge left anymore, right? So even though this character by herself is not the strongest in the game, nobody really uses her for anything outside of World Boss Ultimate anymore, her impact on the game is a very, very real thing. Like, she definitely led to the creation of two different things. Well, War Boss Legend and the whole Conqueror resist system, right? Her and Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch in this like Infinity War uniform really started something, because with this uniform, for whatever reason, they decided that they were going to give her 5 seconds of mind control, right, on her forward skill. However, this 5 seconds of mind control was more like 10 seconds, and having a skill that had like what, a 6.5 second cooldown and mind control that lasts for 10 seconds meant you could lobotomize bosses. As long as they could be mind controlled, they would be mind controlled, and then they would just be standing still like puppets from now until the end of time. So Scarlet Witch, Weapon X, and Deadpool kind of led to the creation of War Boss Legend and the whole Conqueror / resist system, right? Those characters combined, I think, They're the reason why we have War Boss Legends to this day, and it's the reason why you cannot one-shot those bosses. It's the reason why your debuffs, like your mind controls and whatnot, don't work on them. It's the reason why your defense down don't work on them. It's the reason why when you do too much damage to Null, he just triggers a phase, and then you can't do no more damage until he goes to his phase, right? Because they would be right back where they started, where people would be one-shotting bosses if they didn't take measures and set up things in place to stop that, right? But to be honest, I need to go further back, because the one who really started the whole debuff meta, right, with where you can control bosses or just apply effects to bosses, is none other than the queen herself. I absolutely need to put respect on her name. She got to be up here. She started something special, right? Enchantress. If you were not playing the game, right, when Enchantress first came out, boys, she was the first character, the very first character that could really control bosses. Like, I mean, really, she was Scarlet Witch before Scarlet Witch. She was Scarlet Witch when Scarlet Witch was in her infancy. I'm sorry, my queen. I know. We gotta talk, boys, because before Enchantress, you could not CC bosses, you could not crowd control bosses, you could not stun, paralyze, freeze, time freeze, none of that existed before Enchantress. But when Enchantress came to the game, she came with the ability to charm. She came with this 5 seconds of charm, and I still remember to this day people like going in against Infinity Thanos, which at that point in time was the hardest piece of content. Now you can clear Infinity Thanos in like 1 second. Like, you could literally just hit him with a basic attack and he would die. But the point is, like, Enchantress started something special. She started the whole, you can now debuff war bosses. Before that, you couldn't stun, freeze, bind, none of that to them. And she kicked it off. And then Marvel saw that there was money to be made, and then more and more characters now have charm, they have time freeze, they have defense down, which before defense down would not apply to world bosses. So man, Enchantress, definitely in my opinion one of the most impactful characters in the game. You could go back and you could look at a lot of characters that's had a big impact on the game, but I think these ones I have at the top here, they really started something special and they changed the game for better or worse. Sharon Rogers, I think, was the first true tank we had in the game. Yeah, I would say that. We had Thanos, and Thanos came before, and Thanos has the healing, right, from his passive and stuff. Like, I do think maybe Thanos was the first true tank. Maybe. Right, with the Mad Titan passive, that 30% heal is pretty nice, right? Like, on his base kit. Like, because this is how he came in, right? So I guess you could say Thanos was the first true tank, but I think Sharon Rogers, it's either Sharon Rogers or Thanos. I think one of them two are the first. I gotta show them respect, I do, right? But I think Sharon Rogers has had a bigger impact than Thanos. It's sad to say, right? I think she's had Thanos has had an impact in PvP, but he's never been the de facto number one. Or at least if it was, he wasn't like there at the number one spot for very long. Whereas Sharon Rogers, she's been like at the top of the game on multiple different occasions, and she's still there right now where she's super tanky, and she basically showed us the power of damage accumulation, right? Yeah, I would say she started the whole accumulation meta, right? Now we're in it, where if they have accumulation on their skill set, then chances are they're a very good character, right? But I think she started it, so I gotta give her some credit, right? I think we're in the whole Sentry meta right now where he's the best in the game, but I don't think he's had the impact of a Jean Grey just quite yet. We'll see how long he stays as de facto number one. I think he has a bright future ahead of him, but he hasn't really changed. Like, nothing in the game changed because of Sentry. Whereas the game itself changed because of Doctor Strange. The game itself changed because of the combination of Deadpool, Weapon X, and Scarlet Witch, right? The game kind of changed because of Jean Grey just being the first character to come in with the revive, and she kind of definitely had an impact with the fifth skill just being able to guard break you, so there's no way you could protect yourself against it. So I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I think these are some of the most impactful characters we've ever had in the game. Actually, you know what? I gotta put my boy Pietro in here, man, because there's never been a character where they're so powerful, they're so annoying to fight that people actually beg the developers to nerf the character. Quicksilver was that guy. You don't believe me? Go back, bro. Go check the forums. Bro, please nerf Quicksilver. Literally every single day for like 3 months straight. Quicksilver, he had an impact in PvP. before they nerfed his force skill, when he would just hit you with that light speed blitz, before the days of iframe ignore, Quicksilver was a god. He would just come in and hit that 5th skill, just stun lock you, and then just rush you with the light speed blitz, and it's just game over. It's just a bright light and it's game over for you, fam, right? So I definitely got to give him some credit. He has had an impact on the meta, because I think before Quicksilver, I've never seen any character like get nerfed, well, because the players were so like adamant about nerfing him, right? Then they were like, oh, we nerfed him because his skill wasn't working properly. Nah, you nerfed him because people were mad. Nah, but anyways, man, I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Let me know what you guys think, man. Did I miss anybody that's had a really big impact on the game and how we played? I think maybe Pitor, my guy Colossus, I think he's had a big impact. He's still relevant in PvP for this day, right? Just because of the 4-star passive here, Pitor's will, you know, that will of iron, right? So yeah, I'll give him some credit. He's had an impact. He's had some staying power. Anyways, boys, we're gonna wrap it up right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me your thoughts in the comments, man. I know it's a little different of a video, but I was going through my roster today and I was like, yo, some of these characters, they've actually helped shape the game into what it is today. And it's a very interesting thing when you think about it. Or at least to me. I'm gone. Peace.